back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Rukadowski of WeAreChange.org here in Gdańsk, Poland. And in this specific video, I wanted to ask the question, is Poland the #1 enemy towards the globalist? Is Poland the corporate globalist nightmare? Or is it a right-wing, racist, fascist country? And, well, the answer to that question is most likely going to surprise you. Now, before we start, just know that this broadcast and video is sponsored and supported by you, the viewer, and on wearechange.org/donate. With your contributions and support, this broadcast is free and available to the larger public. So sincerely, thank you so much for donating to us and allowing us to exist as an independent media organization. Now, within just the last few days, we have seen a rise in talks about fascism and nationalism, specifically regarding Poland, which just this Sunday saw one of the largest demonstrations in Europe, celebrating, of course, the 100-year anniversary that Poland was recognized as a country, bringing together an estimated 250,000 people to Warsaw. Now, I was actually born and raised in Poland and was there this past Sunday in Warsaw, and I do have to say that I felt one of the most awe-stunning moments in my life that day when being in the center of Warsaw, surrounded by an estimated 250,000 people, and then at around 3 p.m., all of the people at once decided to sing the national hymn and, of course, light up their flares, which tens of thousands of people did, and turned the day into an absolute red night, to the point where you couldn't even see the sky or even 5 feet in front of you. Just an extremely massive, powerful glow of red, symbolically representing the pride that engulfed everyone, including myself, there at that very moment, leaving an immense feeling inside of me that could only be represented as whoa. Flares, by the way, which the Polish government, police, and authorities were warning people not to use because they were, quote, illegal, and yet absolutely no one listened to them, including even the on-duty paramedics and firefighters that were standing next to the Polish president. Now, this celebration of Poland existing for over 100 years now has left a lot of people confused about this situation. And just like with any confusing situation, we of course are going to have pundits, political vultures who actually have no values at all, who will use that confusion, sow more of it for, of course, power. And this, of course, is being done on the left and right, specifically on the right, characterizing this demonstration as being only attended by the most angelic and peaceful of all people who can't do anything wrong and don't even leave any litter, making the streets, of course, pristine after this massive gathering. And, yeah, that definitely was not the case. There was beer bottles and flares and fireworks and M80s being thrown around everywhere. Some people, of course, drunk, some disorderly, and just like with any large gathering of people, there's always a few bad apples. Now, that is my criticism of how people on the right kind of reported on this event, while the people on the left, they're not far behind in their absolute lunacy, with German mainstream media press calling this event an ultra-right-wing nationalist one, while the UK's Independent even went as far as to call this a fascist march and, quote, one of the world's biggest far-right gatherings, calling this a practice of authoritarianism, ultimately decrying this event as one of the worst things that has ever happened to Europe. And with my criticism here, the people on the left criticizing this definitely take the cake for their utter and complete lunacy on their coverage of this event. Ultimately, not only showing you their total disregard and ignorance of Polish history, but also to the fact that the Polish people do not like far-right ideologies, and that there are still many people alive who had to fight off the German Nazis. With even my grandma still being alive that was persecuted, had her family murdered and butchered because of the Nazis. That, of course, represent a larger sentiment in this country that, of course, hates far-right ideologies. Specifically, the Nazi fascists that the left-wing world is characterizing them as. Now, you should know this, but in Poland, showing any symbols or even chanting the slogans that promote fascism, Nazism, or any other form of totalitarianism is illegal in Poland. Or the national event even took place this Sunday. 100 extremists who were characterized on being on the right were actually arrested by Polish police, with even 400 people being detained at the border and not allowed to enter Poland because of what the Polish described as right-wing ideologies. Even after the event this Sunday, 5 people were arrested for, quote, propagating a form of fascism or, quote, even inciting hatred. The police have even offered a 5,000 zloty reward for the help of identifying the person who burned the EU flag at the march, which of course is illegal in Poland, and they take this crime very seriously. Even the state broadcaster in Poland tweeted out a message saying, quote, everyone is welcome, and even portrayed images of people who look like they're from African descent, along with 2 weird-looking yuppie hipster types at, of course, Sunday's rally with the tagline that, quote, everyone is welcome. And that gesture is a little bit disingenuous and weird, to say the least. And, of course, we have to acknowledge that a lot of critics of the current peace government are saying that these actions are symbolic and mainly just for PR purposes, while accusing the current party in power now of trying to appease people. And honestly, regardless of other people's opinions about why this is happening, it still is, and the effects are very real, with people being sent to jail. And honestly, if you look at this new government that is in charge here in Poland under the Peace Party, they of course even have been criticized for being more socialist and on the left than on the right, even establishing a controversial policy here in Poland where they give families 500 zloty now for every second child that they have within their family. And that's a very socialistic policy that they have adapted here. As far as immigration, even though the government publicly, vocally takes a stand against immigration, Poland right now is actually going through one of its largest waves of immigration. And the political party in charge does not want people to know about it, and they don't even admit to it, being the second country in Europe to allow the largest amounts of economic migrants to their country, with the majority of them, of course, being from Ukraine, that is going through a lot of political and economic turmoil in their country, which of course many people on the left criticize Poland for by saying that they were only accepting fellow European migrants instead of migrants from other countries. And even though Poland and Hungary rejected a lot of the migration quotas that were put on them by the European Union, they are even now, as we are speaking, working out a deal with the Philippines government to import Filipino migrants into Poland. So of course the Polish government could reap the economic benefits of immigrants. And Poland is the second country in the European Union that does this the most. And importing a foreign labor force into your country is not really going up against the corporate globalists. Very interestingly also, Poland is establishing better relations and ties to Israel, not just symbolically, of course, with joint stamp releases, but also, of course, geopolitically, also militarily, and also through immigration, with Poland seeing a record number of immigrants coming from Israel. So the prevailing arguments that we are seeing continue on from the left, that Poland is supposedly this xenophobic, Nazi, fascist country that hates Jewish people, that doesn't want to let anyone in, is completely false. And there's also other factors to think about here, because Poland does have relatively high taxes with also very little socialism, very little social services, very little public assistance, and one of the most difficult languages to learn. In one of the videos that I actually shot here in Poland that I will later upload to, of course, our sponsorship lounge, I was actually able to interview a man who moved to Poland from Turkey, started a business here, and even being here close to over 8 years, he has still not been able to learn the language. And economically, if you look at the global picture, Poland is very open for globalization, foreign investment, and has artificially prospered economically, and has seen positive growth numbers, with even many Polish immigrants coming back to Poland to live here during this new time and era, which of course has been very friendly to multinational corporations. Now, I think the last question that we should entertain here is, of course, asking if Poland is racist. And Poland is a very homogeneous society that is very keen on tradition and family, but that is not racism, even though some people characterize that, which of course I went over in great detail at the actual rally this Sunday. And of course, this link will be in the description below for you to understand this greater context later. Does that mean that Poland is extremely diverse and loves every single person, no matter their color and creed? No. There are some people that are racist, and there's no denying that, just like in any society or any large group of people. But in large, are all Polish people totally racist? And as Bono from U2 says, run by the hyper-nationalists. And the short and sweet of it is no, you dumb Bono. As you could see from listening to this video, Polish politics is a lot more complex and also a lot more left-leaning than people make it out to be. And our nationalism, our pride in being Polish, comes from the struggles that we had to endure throughout human history, including recent history. Just even a few years ago, being subjugated by communists. And before that, the German right-wing Nazis. And even before that, just a little bit after that, didn't even exist as a country, because again, of more subjugation and control. And now, finally, Poland has a little bit of freedom within the last few years, and we're celebrating it, and we're proud of it. And sure as hell, we're not going to have any large bureaucracy violate our basic principles and values that we live under. I, as a Polish-born citizen of this country, do not like the people on the left just as much as I don't like the people on the right. And it is this overall kind of identity that the majority of Polish people resonate with. So, is Poland the #1 enemy of globalists? No. Is it a racist, right-wing, Nazi, fascist country? No. All of these assessments made from people on the left, made from people on the right, are absolutely wrong. All of them. And again, things are not always as black and white as you want them to be. There's a lot of gray zones with the example of Poland. But if anything, the Polish people are definitely more apolitical and anti-establishment than anything else the people on the left and right try to label us as. And that's why during the march this past Sunday, we saw people chant, God, honor, fatherland, US imperialism wrong, hammer and sickle the Reds, we're Polacks not fascists, and one of my favorite sayings, mamy tradycję, jebać policję, which, I won't translate what it means here, but just demonstrates how we are untrustworthy of authority because of our history, which is more important here that, of course, a lot of people don't want to talk about. Okay, let me try to at least translate this a little bit. What this means is we have a tradition where we really don't like the police, is a polite way of saying it, but really it's more of a metaphoric phrase for fuck the police. But regardless of all of that, everything that I shared with you here today is, of course, my own opinion and how I personally see it. If you think I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section below why. I, of course, answer comments within the first hour that a video is out, so make sure you click the notification button to be a part of the larger discussions that happen on this YouTube channel. If you found this video insightful, please, by all means, share it, because, of course, we are getting heavily demonetized and screwed over by the algorithm to where people are no longer seeing our videos. Which could be because we mainly criticize the establishment on the left and also on the right. So your support is more critical than ever. Thank you everyone again for supporting us on wearechange.org/donate. I would not be here. This video would not be here if it wasn't for you. And that's why I end every single broadcast by saying, love you guys. Stay tuned for a lot more. Or in Polish, kocham cię. Kurwa mać.